this is Simon's Whispers. I hope you're all well. So it's Sunday morning and it's a gorgeous day outside, lovely blue skies, which really makes a change because this week it's been tipping it down. It's been cold and wet, and there's been a lot of flooding as well in the area. A lot of roads have been blocked because of the rain, so it's not been very nice at all. Last night I had to drive to a restaurant and that's to meet my dad, and one of the roads I had to go down was a dark country road, and it was pitch black and raining really heavily, and the cat's eyes in the middle of the road were barely visible. You know, the reflective dots that separate the two lanes so that you don't drive into oncoming traffic. And it was barely visible. You couldn't see a thing. It was atrocious. And at one point I didn't realise that there was flood water in my lane. And because everywhere was so dark, and this one patch was just a little bit darker than the rest, and I didn't realise that it was water until I went through it and caused a tidal wave on the left hand side and made the car move to the left a tiny bit. It was like dragged to the left a slight bit. So that was an experience, and yeah, that was probably quite dangerous really, but I didn't realise at the time at all that it was even there because it was so dark and raining so heavily, and it really obstructed our view of the road. So that was probably, as I say, probably a bit dangerous. But luckily it wasn't too deep, so that wouldn't have been a very nice surprise. So I got to this restaurant last night, and my dad had told me that, because it was he and his wife's anniversary, and he'd invited me for a meal with them, which I thought was really lovely. And he said that somebody was dropping him off and asked me if I'd be able to drive them home afterwards, and I said, well, I don't mind. He picked up the bill for dinner as well, so it was lovely. But he said that somebody was dropping him off. So I pulled into the car park of this restaurant, and there's a huge white stretch limo with neon lights parked by the door at the edge of the car park. And I thought, that won't be my dad, will it? Surely it won't be. So I parked the car and walked towards the door, and this really tall, huge man in a suit, a really smart suit, said, "Is your name Simon?" And I said, "Yes, it is. Who are you?" And he said, "Oh, I've got somebody here that wants to meet you." And ever so unusual. So I said, "Right, okay." And he led me towards this limousine, the stretch limo, and opened the door, and it was my dad and his wife inside giggling, drinking champagne. And it was one of these limos that's got the seats all down the one side, and of course at each end, and a bar across the other side, with again the neon lights and music, and there's a strobe light was my dad. He said, "Oh, can I get you a drink?" But of course I was driving, so I never drink and drive. I know that makes me really boring. Of course, so many people drink and drive, but I think if I ever had an accident and I really hurt somebody, I would always wonder if I could have avoided that, if I could have not hurt somebody. We all know somebody that's been injured on the road at some point, needlessly, either through somebody driving like an idiot or perhaps somebody drink driving. So, I really try to make sure that I'm responsible when I'm driving. And not drinking, because I do know that I drive a little bit too fast. And, tell me who doesn't. So, you do what you can to make sure that you are safe. And, but perhaps you're going to call me an idiot now for saying that I'm being safe by not drinking, but then driving too quickly. I must say I don't drive like a racing driver, but sometimes, slightly over the speed limit. But again, not too far. So that was a lovely meal. They were both drunk by the time I arrived. My dad more so. You could really tell that he was absolutely, peed. He was so drunk. And he was really funny. I haven't seen him that tipsy in a long, long time. And so what else have I been up to? I went out for a meal on the Friday as well, so the night before, and that was a lovely Indian meal that I had. And I made a big birthday cake for that. It was a big chocolate cake, and it looked like a big chocolate truffle, so the size of a big dinner plate. And I made it out of 3 layers of chocolate sponge, really moist chocolate sponge. I added extra baking powder and a bit of extra milk, so it would rise that bit more, so it would be fluffier and a little bit more moist as well. And so that was 3 tiers, and I used Bourneville chocolate, really strong chocolate. And that's the chocolate powder, the pure cocoa. So that was 3 huge sponges with chocolate icing. Chocolate butter icing, shall I say, which is much better, in between those layers. And then the chocolate butter icing all around the sides and over the top, spread around and smoothed out. And then using a cheese grater, the side of the cheese grater that's got the huge grater bits. I don't know what they're called, but they're the ones that are about 2 or 3 inches along. So it's more of a blade than the grater. And then I shave chocolate, milk cooking chocolate, and shave that into huge curls, and then place that all over the icing and all around the sides of the cake as well. So it looked like a huge chocolate truffle, and it was so chocolatey and moist in the middle. It was to die for. So heavy as well, because I used a whole 1.5 kilo box of icing sugar, a whole block of butter, and a whole tub of cocoa powder in making the icing, and it was just superb. Hang on a minute, I sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet a little bit here. Let's say it was nice. So it was I really enjoyed it, and everybody that came out with us really said it was lovely as well. Although we were quite full from eating our meals, so we couldn't eat quite as much of it as we wanted to, but everybody got a nice slice, and I brought the rest home. So that was really lovely. So I had a chicken tikka balls asked them to serve it onto a curved plate for me, and have a garlic naan bread as well to dip into the sauce, and that was really lovely. So moving further back into my week, on Wednesday at work, we get tea and toast for free at work when we have a break, and it's a lovely atmosphere when everybody gets together for that, because there's a lot of us from every department, and we all get together, and it's a real nice social atmosphere every single day at about 11 o'clock, where we all get our 11s, we all have toast, tea, coffee, anything like that. And I actually broke one of my teeth on some toast, some brown bread, some brown toast, and I broke one of my teeth, one of the, I think it's a molar at the top, and the biggest one if you feel with your own tongue, which the one at the top that's the widest. So about a quarter of that tooth is gone now, and it's a bit sharp where there's just a little bit of enamel sticking out of the gum on that corner. Of course that tooth split into four, and it's the back inner corner that's gone. It just caved in and collapsed. I don't know if I bit onto something or if my tooth was weak for some reason. So I've been to the dentist, and I've got to get some work done on it next week. Not really looking forward to that, to be honest. So I think that might be a bit, well, not very pleasurable. So I don't know whether I've got to have a root canal with that, or whether I'll just be able to have a large filling or a cap. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. So we'll see. So, but it doesn't hurt or anything like that, thankfully. Hopefully it doesn't by the time I go next week, because it's a long time to have exposed sort of weakened enamel. So hopefully it'll be okay. So Black Ops 2 arrived finally. Long anticipated game. I wasn't really sure if I was going to buy it or not. I wasn't really impressed with the original Black Ops. It was definitely fun, but I felt that it lacked slightly in the way that it looked. They had used what appeared to be an old engine for that game, and definitely wasn't impressed. It just looked a bit behind the times, really, which, for a game that was full price, you would really expect them to pull out all the stops, the hundreds of millions of dollars that they make on those games. I say dollars because they're an American company, but we could say pounds. But the money that they make is unbelievable. They make more in each Call of Duty game than a blockbuster movie makes. Can you believe that? So, Black Ops 2, I am really impressed with it. For the first time in my, well, perhaps I could be wrong with that, but I think it's the first time that they've really listened to the fans on the forums when people have complained that the story was really weak last time, that the storyline was a bit dry, and that the game was just full of set pieces. That they really struggled. So they got the writer from Batman: The Dark Knight Rises, that's the most recent Batman film, and they asked him to write the script, to actually write the story for the game, which has really made an impact on the story. It's really good now, really gripping story. And the sights as well on the guns. There were a lot of complaints that the sights looked really poor, that they were, a lot of the sights seemed to be universal sights, which of course does not happen on guns, apart from perhaps a universal, say a red dot sight or something like that. But even those on the previous game actually looked really rubbish, which people say, with a game, what does it matter? But for those of us that read books, let's say, if you read a book and you try to get immersed into that story, but you find that the book doesn't really describe the scene very well for you, it doesn't allow you to empathise with the characters, to really feel what the characters feel, and to really make an emotional investment into that story, then that book becomes a real hard slog. And it's exactly the same with games. I mean, the same as it would be with a movie or a TV show. If you find it hard to actually empathise with the characters, or you just feel that it's totally unbelievable, then it can be really frustrating, because these games are actually quite expensive if you buy them, quite often. So it works out. Black Ops was £45, so I don't really know what that is in dollars, but whether that's like $50 or something, I'm not sure. I don't know the exchange rate, I'm afraid. But perhaps anyone in the States can always leave a comment to say how much they bought Black Ops for themselves. But yeah, the game is really good. So I'm not absolutely addicted to it. I'm still getting a lot of work done, but in all honesty, I've become a little bit behind on work since it's been released, so I've got a bit of catch-up to do, really. Work never ceases. So we had moderation at work last week. They only sent an email about it on Tuesday, and on Wednesday we had to grab everything and photocopy evidence, and for that many examples. So I'm hoping that that's all been okay, because it's all been accepted now, and that's okay. But it was so long, and I really had other things to get done on Wednesday. So that was a